What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine, and as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career. Hey, Sean.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
Happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday. We're actually doing it on Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Because we don't procrastinate anymore.
Yeah, how was your week of eating frogs?
Oh, you know what? I'm starting to enjoy them. Love the taste. Tastes a lot like chicken.
That's what I heard. I have heard that.
Actual frogs?
Yeah.
People
frog
say that
legs?
about everything. Like, it tastes like chicken. It's like,
Tastes
no,
like
it doesn't.
chicken.
No, it went really well.
Yeah.
I felt less overwhelmed, even though a lot of stuff is going on. But kept in the habit of just writing down my top priorities for the next day. And 1 week went pretty well. Went really well. I feel like we got a lot accomplished, and I felt a lot less anxious about it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. I agree. It was a very clear-headed... we had a couple spirals this week, which we'll get into later. But
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot about them. But yeah, we are going to talk about those because hey, wouldn't be a premiere week without a couple little death spirals.
right.
So,
But
love
yeah,
that.
I would say overall, definitely an efficient way of time management. So
Yeah. Do you feel like you ate some frogs?
I did. Yeah.
What
Definitely did.
What were your biggest things? Were you also like my biggest thing was plan out the day the night before. What was yours?
Mine was block scheduling, but flexible block scheduling.
Okay.
And I feel like I did that this week for most of the days. Today was a little bit thrown for a loop because I had to do the filming today, which I don't normally do. So that kind
Right.
of threw me for a loop. But
Good thing you have the flexible block
because
scheduling.
I had the flexible block scheduling, it still kind of worked out. So yeah, I would say.
I forgot
All in
that
all.
was your thing, but now that you mention it, I do remember you saying throughout the week, I have that in my next block. I just kind of ignored you, and I was like, what is she talking about? Who cares? Just kidding. But yeah, so it went well. You feel like that was an effective strategy for you?
Yeah. Overall,
Beautiful. Love
I would
that.
recommend. I'm 1 week in, so I'm basically an expert on this.
How many stars are we going to give it?
Out of how many? 5?
Yeah. Oh, we should do that for the book club. We rate it at the end.
Okay. Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll definitely add that.
Out of 10.
Out of 10. 10
Yeah.
stars. Okay.
10 stars.
Give my block scheduling. I'll give it
Yeah, I guess.
an 8. Or are we doing the book?
Did you say an A?
8.
Oh, I'll give it an A out of 10.
I'll give it an A out of 10.
Something's not working if that's what you said. An 8?
An 8. I give it an 8.
It's a high bar.
It's a high bar. I feel like it's an efficient way. If you can manage it, it's an efficient way to do things.
I'm going to give my planning the next day out the night before. I feel like there's still so much improvement I could do on like really creating habit around it and like, how I, prioritize things. So I'm going to give it a 5-6.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Work to be done there. Okay.
definitely work to be done.
I like
I mean, I don't want to say
As
like,
always.
I'm at a 9 already. You're already at an 8 though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so this episode, we are going to get into this week. We had a little bit of a spiral because we are constantly analyzing what we do and trying to make things better. And that goes for how we do things in the business, but also in our content and that kind of stuff. So we had this moment where it was Sean, me, and Steve in the van, and we're all talking about all these different ideas and all these different things. And Sean was like, we gotta get a calendar and put everything down. And it was a bit of a spiral, and it was an overwhelmed spiral.
Yeah.
And then I was like, take it back. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And we kind of laid out all these things that we were talking about, and it was kind of like a nice little refresh, and it made me think of like, oh, we should talk about this, because this happens often where we're like, we kind of get this feeling of overwhelm and like how and when we should overhaul things, and should we do all of these things at once. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, like kind of the cyclical nature of feeling this like overhaul bug and getting too comfortable and then feeling you have to overhaul everything.
Yeah. I we definitely did do that this week, and it was unrelated to, because now it sounds like I lied about being less stressed out because of the scheduling the night before. This was unrelated to that.
This was like a brainstorming thing.
This was like totally unrelated. Yeah. I did not lie about that topic. It depends what your definition of topic is. You know, like Bill Clinton thing?
No.
Never mind. You don't get the reference.
Go ahead. Go into detail.
Go into detail? He said something like, it depends what your definition of the is. Or something. It was like, I don't know, ridiculous. Whatever. Anyway, we're in this brainstorming session about this particular thing was about, you know, some of our video stuff and how we plan it, and just like getting in that moment with all the stuff that we have going on. I was feeling overwhelmed by like just creating like a little bit more of like, I felt like there needed to be a system in place. So it was kind of like a outburst of really like, it was kind of like a therapy session. Because you guys just kind of let me talk, let me spew it all out, and then you were kind of like, okay, well, this thing you're describing, like, that's my job. I do that. I'm not overwhelmed with the way we do it, and, like, it's fine. And Steve was just like, I mean, he's always just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. So I think it is a worthwhile topic to talk about, like, how do you evaluate whether things need a big overhaul or stay the course, or, you know, just when to push, when to kind of keep going on the same route? Yeah. It's tough.
It is
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
It is. And I feel like we find ourselves, and I don't know, maybe it's just a byproduct of how much we analyze everything that we do constantly, because we have all these analytics at our fingertips.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a byproduct of that or whatever, but it feels like it's a cyclical thing where like we get very comfortable in what we've been doing, and then it's like, okay, now it's time to freak out about it, and something needs to change. We need to get better. Things aren't happening fast enough, or, you know, whatever the general freak out is. And then we feel like we have to do something, and then we realize, oh, well, no, like in this particular case, it was like a scheduling thing. And you were like, we got to write down everything that we're doing. And I was like, well, all of these things are already scheduled. We're already good. We have this system in place. I'm the one that's doing it, and I'm not overwhelmed. So we're all good there.
It's all Gucci, baby.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a, you know, outburst to freak out and then pull back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because I was the one that
you were
did
there,
it. Yeah. I think it's a worthwhile exercise to just like, you know, like explore that as kind of like a brainstorm. Like, what if we did just like turn this portion of the business on its head and do things completely different? Like, you know, have that like emotional like outburst of, what if we are doing everything wrong? Let's evaluate, like, what if we did it like this? I think that that's like kind of a healthy thing to do from time to time, because most of the time, a lot of the ideas are just like, okay, well, that was silly. That was just like me feeling like a little bit stressed out or overwhelmed, and like we do have a pretty good handle on this. Maybe there's a couple takeaways, like, hey, maybe we could tighten up this portion of it, but a lot of times it's like you kind of feel this like unease and overwhelm, and that's how I was feeling in that moment with like just what posts we had scheduled, what video is going to come out, and like just scheduling like the van stuff amongst all the other stuff that's running around my head. And it's like I'm trying to like hold on too tight, and it's like I don't need to have like the best like ironclad grasp on that portion, you know. It's like you guys are handling that, it's fine, you guys are using whatever system works for you, and I just need to like let go of control a little bit. But having that outburst was kind of just like, you know, it's kind of like almost therapeutic. And I think what it leads to, like what the lesson I kind of pull from that is you have to have like a team around you that's gonna be collaborative to an extent, but also push back where needed. Because imagine if I was just there by myself doing that. I might just start changing up everything. Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
When you don't have like a sounding board,
Yeah.
I think that's when it gets like it gets a little dicey.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask you this.
Yes, please.
In this situation.
Yes.
You had your freak out. You were overwhelmed. You had your freak out. And we decided what?
I'm starting to want to push back a little bit. That was it really just a me? Was it? It was just a me freak out? I thought it was kind of a group thing, but now it's like, okay, all right.
We were all like, immediately when she said it, we were all like, we're fine. Everything's fine. Why are you?
Okay.
But anyway. Okay. So.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was a group freak out. But for this example, let's say.
I was just the leader of it. Yeah. Somebody has to be like the conductor of the freak out.
Right. So.
I was doing that. Okay.
Let's say in this particular freak out, we all were freaking out, I guess, and then we all talked each other off the ledge, and we were fine. But on the other side of that, let's say we all freaked out, and we changed everything, and we turned everything on its head.
Yeah.
Would that resolve your anxiety? Or would that just be compounding?
Possibly temporarily.
Maybe you'd feel like you were doing something immediately, but then in the long run, you would just feel like, wow, I've created a whole lot of chaos for myself. Right?
Yeah, of course. I also want to, I feel like I should throw out there, like, when we're saying freak out, I mean, we're not talking about me throwing things and, like, there's no violence.
Oh, he was hitting people.
There was no violence. It's more of just
Sean
like
totaled the van.
No, I did not. That's a lie. It's more of a, the ramblings of a madman a little bit.
It is an emphatic speech. That's what it is. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just a mental, you're working through things in your head when you're doing this, and then it's
Out
just
loud.
also coming out of your mouth
Yeah.
to us.
It is like a brainstorm.
It's a brainstorm. It's all good natured. It's not like it is you. I'm sure in this moment you were feeling overwhelmed because you do personally and professionally have a lot going on.
Thank you for
And then
acknowledging
as
that.
we were
Very busy businessman.
right. As we were talking about all these things, we were talking about a lot of different things that kind of touch a lot of different things, which then
I was not touching anyone.
Smaller. Okay.
Okay.
Are smaller parts of a bigger goal. So it did feel like a very big thing that we were kind of working on and working towards and through. So I'm sure it just felt like a lot of loose ends because that's what it essentially was.
Yeah.
But then we came to the conclusion that everything's fine. We have everything is fine, and everything's going to be fine because we have already worked through all of these things.
Yes. Always room for improvement.
Of course.
But
and brainstorming sessions absolutely necessary.
Yeah, for sure.
And crucial to our well-being.
Yeah. Now that really was just like a brainstorming session. It was a freak out that led to a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously, a healthy way to go about any kind of like creative or business endeavors. You got to, kind of hash out this, throw everything out there and see what sticks. I think it's a good thing to implement from time to time, and you'll kind of come to two conclusions. Like, the one that we came to was like, okay, reel it back in. Everything's okay. Maybe we'll, tweak a couple things, or, for the most part, it was kind of just like, okay, that's done. Let's move on with business as usual. Got that out of your system. Go ahead. But the other thing that it could lead you to is, okay, yeah, these are really good ideas. Like, that does make more sense than what we're doing right now.
Right.
And it's really hard to make that work if you're doing that in a vacuum, if you're doing it by yourself.
Right.
So we were doing it. It was, kind of van stuff. It was van work kind of stuff in this specific brainstorm. So it worked having the three of us there to kind of like hash it out and decide, is this good? Is this bad? Do we need to make big changes? Should we switch up our strategy? But if you're by yourself, it can be really difficult. So I think what you can do is find another business owner that's either, at the same stage as you or has been through things like this, and just, be a sounding board for each other to be like able to check you. And, and half the time it's like you just get all this stuff out and then you're like, okay, I feel better already. I was just a little overwhelmed. gotta just work through this. It's fine, but it's
Something to think about.
something to think about. Yep.
So, what would you say is your threshold for like overhauling?
God, it's so low. God, it is so low. It's almost non-existent. I think one of the things that's so hard for me to be like kind of in a leadership role to like delegate things is previously, like when I was doing everything myself, you know, I was just like kind of following my intuition and just like instead of just like, you know, spewing all this stuff out, I would like, you know, kind of dabble in things and just like kind of like meander my way. And it, you know, it's just kind of like a, you know, like a intuitive kind of way of going about it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I can't really do that anymore. And that probably wasn't necessarily the most efficient way. It's really like, you know, just, I think it has to come down to that collaboration. Like, the threshold is kind of, do we all think this is a good idea? Ultimately, I could just say, I don't care what you guys think. We're doing this. Usually I don't. And there's very few things that I'm like, no, I don't care that you don't agree. We're doing this. There are a couple things because, you know, I'm the boss. But for the most part, it's collaborative. And I think that is the threshold. It's like kind of what the response is.
Yeah. Okay.
Why is it almost always negative? Why is it it's always like, no, that's a bad idea. I can't think of any recent time that we've had a brainstorming session that it's like, yeah, let's implement those things, Sean. I might just be a crazy person. I don't know anymore.
No. I think that, I mean, let's say there were a couple things in this, but like, let's give a specific example. Like we were scheduling things on a calendar to post on social media.
Yeah.
And what you wanted to do, you were like freaking out. We need to get a calendar in here and write everything down. And I'm like, well, why? I have it on, it's literally in a calendar on the computer. Why would I need to then write it on a whiteboard?
So we can see it.
And you were like, yeah, because you're like, well, everyone needs to see it. And I'm like, well, why? Why does everybody need to see it? Why does everyone need to know what clip I'm posting each day? And then you were like, okay, well.
It's true, yeah.
Now you say it that way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a little bit of freak out because it feels, you know.
Sometimes maybe the oxygen level drops in the van or something. Like there's too many of us in there. I don't know.
It could be. I think it just feels like there's a lot of things that we do that are like little things that then lead to the big goal, which I guess that's for everybody.
Yeah.
But all of these little things feel like they mean so much and they matter so much, and we need to be like micromanaging each tiny little thing. When in reality, we don't, because one person can handle that thing. And in this case, that person is me, and I already handled it, so
yeah, I know.
It's totally fine.
I know. It's, I think, just difficult to, like, because all the little things do mean a lot, and the little things do lead to, like we've already accomplished a lot. We've achieved a lot of the goals that we've kind of set, but we're nowhere near like our ultimate goals of where we want to go. Mm-hmm. And it is those like incremental 1% things that you keep doing that lead to the growth. And, you know, that's like what you just need to like reevaluate. Like, are we doing all of those little things? Like, have we become complacent? Because it is about the little details. Like, we can't just like, oh, you know, whatever, like we just build decks and everyone still thinks it's cool, right? Like just throw up whatever. It's like we gotta like continually evolve in our designs and what we build and on like how we capture it and share it. It's you know, I just think we always need to like kind of have those moments so we know, are we doing all of those little things that lead to the big result, like that compound over time? Are those things getting taken care of? Are we putting enough effort into it? And this time, I think, we were. But
and also I think there's also an element of like when the systems that we put in place previously are working as they should, it feels boring because there's no chaos. When things are working smoothly, it feels boring, and boring feels bad. We always feel like things shouldn't feel boring.
Yeah.
But
It should be like, you're like, oh my God, there's so much to do. We have to do everything right now. So like when you create a system that like, you know, when you schedule posts in advance, I feel like when you schedule posts in advance, those posts don't even count anymore. Like we just need to do another post.
Yeah, they're
like,
gone.
It just doesn't feel like, I don't know. That's probably just like a byproduct of this millennial hustle culture or whatever side hustle type of situation. Anyway, we came to the conclusion this time. Everything's pretty good, and
everything's fine.
Continue on.
Not imploding.
In fact, not imploding. So that's great. Love that. You got anything else on that?
No. I think that especially in this business, once I realized that these situations were cyclical, it made me make more sense of them. Because before, when we would have these freakouts, I'm like, oh my God, everything is wrong. We need to fix everything.
I was starting to...
You were rubbing off on me. Well, I mean...
Do I always initiate these? No, sometimes you do.
I think that I would say that you're a little bit more prone to it than me.
Probably.
But I do have my freakouts where like I feel like something is not, you know, organized in a way that I want it to be organized or whatever. So I obviously, everyone has a little freakout. So,
everyone.
You know, of course.
It's normal.
But, yeah. So I used to feel like, oh my God, we need to fix everything. But now that I've noticed that it is cyclical and it's usually when things are just kind of coasting and feeling smooth that these freakouts come about. It has helped me realize, you know, wrangle them in. Is it really a freakout? Let's talk it through. Let's keep brainstorming. Why are we freaking out?
Yeah. I think that is the crux of it right there. And you know what? I think there's a parallel I'm seeing. I see a therapist.
Okay.
Talk to a therapist. And I think should just come out and say that in the open here. Everyone should. Thank you so much. It's a brave...
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's a brave move. But it's like I'm seeing that parallel because a lot of times it's just like when you're talking to somebody like a therapist where it's just like you just say whatever and like you know that like they're not going to judge you or anything. As soon as you like get it out, like then you're able to like better evaluate like sometimes like you just like keep things in and like with business, like you have these ideas and you're like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to fail? Yeah. You keep those like things in and they just like, that adds more fuel to it. They take on like a life of their own and then they like become overwhelming. If you can just have this open discourse of, hey, let's evaluate these things that we have in place. Like, is this the right strategy? We've been doing it for a while. Is there more that we could do? Is there things that we could change? I think that is where you like take the power back for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you just stuff it down and you're like, let's just keep going, it can kind of like take on a life of its own.
Definitely. Yeah, like a therapist or in this case a coworker kind of, they don't tell you what to think, but kind of gently lead you onto thinking
like,
about something differently.
That's interesting. A calendar for everything. Interesting. Like the one I have on my computer. I think that's a fine idea, Sean. I do. I think that's a fine idea.
I would say I lead, like, my gentle prodding is probably a lot less gentle than a therapist, but...
Probably, yeah.
we get to the same place eventually.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, I guess that can now be the conclusion on that segment.
What?
Just the whole, you know, just what we just said. I feel like that wrapped it up nicely.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't feel wrapped up as nicely because you're like, well, what? And then I'm like, the thing
I thought you were
going to
say something mean, like how I gently prod in like a non-nice way. I thought that's what you're saying, but I get it. You wrapped it up nicely.
Yeah. Okay. On to the next part of the show. What do we got?
Well, I have this episode broken up into different categories.
Oh.
And the next one says weekly update. It's cold.
It's cold. It is getting, oh wow, I didn't know it was like planned out like that. Like we got different segments.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. Is this something that, did this come from the freak out? A little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, great.
That was a different portion of the freak out, but yeah.
Oh, there were so many different facets to it. But yeah, weekly update. It is getting cold.
Yeah, very cold.
And it's like we're just entering the beginning of winter.
Yeah.
Anybody that works outside can relate to that. It's like, you know,
things are slowing down a little bit.
Like person,
like our morale,
like our bodies because
like
they're
our
so
will
cold.
to live because we're freezing.
Yeah, it gets tough to work through the winter, but I would say the biggest thing, I felt really good so far because I've dressed correctly.
Yeah.
I've dressed preparedly. You know, you get the right stuff and you're kind of fine on that front.
I agree with you like 95%, except the past 2 days have been so windy. It's really hard to combat wind. And then your hands get so cold. I cannot.
Hands are tough.
Everything is fine except for like my fingertips, and that makes
hands
it very,
are,
very difficult.
Yeah, hands are tough.
But yeah, it's like it makes things a little bit more annoying when you have to like blowtorch pavers, like we had to the other day.
Right.
So I feel like I feel like we've all been working very hard, and those little annoyances kind of compound on each other. Like in this case, we were trying to do joint sand and we had to blowtorch pavers because they were all wet and we couldn't do it until they were dry. So that was just kind of like a thorn in your side. And then for the past 2 days, it has been just like howling windy for some reason and so cold. So then today I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy the guys coffee and donuts because this week has been a little rough. Yeah. And I think that that's just something to keep in mind when it gets this cold because I feel like it's not only you're dealing with the cold, but you're dealing with like the minor inconveniences that then compound to being like, oh my God, can it just be the weekend, you know?
Yeah. Like it's cold, being cold sucks. And then because it's cold, it makes certain things slower. So it's like, not only does it suck that it's cold, but it's also making things harder to do.
Yes.
Yeah. I get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of it for our weekly update. It's cold.
It's cold. It is
cold, and it shall continue to be cold for at least a while.
For a little while, yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so the next segment is our new book club.
Woo!
Yeah. So we implemented this. This also came from the brainstorming thing. Well, I guess it was compounding. We talked about it maybe a little bit.
We kind of like had it.
Hinted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to start a book club where each week we read a book, and we hope you guys will read along with us, or you can just listen to our like little review every week. So this week we chose The Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
Yes.
And
is it The Creative Act or A Creative Act? The Creative Act.
The Creative Act.
The Creative Act.
So if you don't know who Rick Rubin is, or do you have anything more to say? You want to talk about the book club in general before I get into this?
I think like most things that are the Hardworking Happy Hour, this is really just like a vessel for us. Like we feel like we need to read more books. Yeah. So
we're going to implement. We're more interesting when we read books.
We're more interesting and we learn more, and it's just like, you know, it's good for all facets of our lives, I think.
Yeah.
If we read books. So if we do a weekly book club, it kind of forces us to make time for books.
Yes.
So that's why we're doing it, and we think it could be really cool to kind of have like, you know, a little bit of, you know, kind of like a simpatico kind of thing with our audience of all reading the same book. So we're going to let you know. Should we let people know right now what the next one is? Or at the end?
We can say it now.
We can?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I forget. What is it? you like picked it out. All right.
Pick it out.
Okay.
Hang on. Oh, I can't check my phone because we're recording on my phone. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, dang it.
We'll check later.
It'll come to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, we'll say that at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But the books, as we've talked about in the past, like we've kind of done versions of this before. We always do like self-help books or business books or something that we feel is going to bring value. We're not going to just do like
not like a Harry Potter.
Yes. Harry Potter. Have you ever read Harry Potter?
I read like the first 2, I think. Okay. No, first 3. Mm-hmm. And then like I got halfway through the 4th and I was like, nah, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But my 7th grade teacher, Miss Voigt, she was like so anti Harry Potter because it was like witchcraft and bad.
Okay.
But she did have a poster of a little tiny bear. I forget if it was like a cartoon bear or like an actual bear, like sitting next to like a potted plant. And it said, she wrote on it, Harry Potter.
Precious, but it seems like she's really
kind of a psychopath. Yeah, exactly.
A little bit. Was that also the teacher that the skin of a reason stuffed with a lie?
Yeah.
Okay. She really had an impact on your life.
Oh, she was Oh, she did not like me at all. Anyway, what are you going to do?
So this week, we read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. If you don't know who Rick Rubin is, he is an American record executive and record producer. He co-founded Def Jam, American Records, and he was the president of Columbia Records.
I thought you were going to say the president of the United States. I was like, I don't remember that. Where was that?
He might have been. Maybe one day.
I'd vote for him.
Maybe, yeah. He really was instrumental in hip-hop becoming popular, and he worked with people like the Beastie Boys, Ghetto Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, LL Cool J, but not just hip-hop. He did a little bit of everything. He went into heavy metal, working with Danzig, Metallica, Slayer, alternative rock like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, Strokes, Weezer, Audioslave, Aerosmith, and then he went to nu metal, LinkedIn, Linkin Park, System of a Down, and he even worked in country, which I did not know this, but he worked with Johnny Cash and the Dixie Chicks.
What? They're just the Chicks.
They're just the Chicks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I even wrote that down. It's muscle memory.
How
to say
dare
the
you?
Dixie Chicks. I know. But anyway, so he's a really cool guy who he's super interesting, and he worked with. I don't know. Something in his brain just makes music, and he is so impressive with the things that he has.
So creative too,
created.
Not just an I don't even know if he is really a musician, but he's a song maker, but there's something
he had a
about
bunch of
him.
Bands.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, over the course of his life. Yeah.
There's
but anyway.
something about the way that he can take something and create something new and different and unique, and I've always known a little bit about him, and it's just super interesting. I know that he lives in Hawaii, right? Basically,
Maybe.
That's where his studio is. It's very and he's very philosophical and into meditation and all kinds of stuff like that. So when I saw that he had the book, I was super psyched about it.
Yeah, when I was reading his bio and everything, it said that he's been meditating since he was 14.
Wow.
Which is impressive. Imagine a little 14-year-old boy wanting to meditate. I feel like that's very impressive.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
I feel like 14-year-old boys are very into other things at that time.
We won't get into that.
So
yeah.
Okay, and then this is a summary of the book. Legendary music producer Rick Rubins' The Creative Act is a way of being, is a mind-bending series of meditations on what it means to be an artist and a creator. Through 78 philosophical musings, Rubin shares the wisdom that we are all artists, offering helpful mental frames for creating and moving through roadblocks, and helps you develop an understanding of what it means to operate as an artist in the world. Which, this book is awesome because, and I also feel like the people who need to read this are probably the people who don't view themselves as artists.
Yeah.
Who probably would never pick up this book. So if you're like, this sounds boring and philosophical, you probably need to read this book because it really, he kind of tells people how to be more of an artist, and also how to find it within you, because it's within everybody.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
That's what the whole book's about.
No, it's not. It's in the universe. It just flows through you.
Well, correct. All right.
It doesn't come from you. It comes through you.
Yes.
But you have to open up your receptors to receive it.
Right. You're just not open enough. If you're not an artist, you're just not open enough.
You're not open enough. Yeah.
Yet.
No, it was a super cool book, and I found parallels to all phases of life throughout it. It's about creating art, but you can kind of pick your own kind of metaphors within it and how it translates to different areas of your life. And one of the first things that I really loved about it, and we just talked about this last week with the last book that we read, was how you just kind of take from it what you want. And that was in the introduction, was this book is meant to be read. Some things will resonate with you, some won't. Take what you need and leave the rest. And I just thought after just saying that about the last book that we read and how we take things in general, it just felt for that to be the intro was he must listen to the podcast. That's what I was thinking.
I bet he does.
So I'm just noticing something, realizing something.
Yes, what?
I took notes on my phone. My phone's recording me. Did you do the same?
I have other notes to look at on my computer, but I did take notes on my phone, which is recording me.
Okay, I think I remember everything. So let's talk about some of the impactful things. So it's a very like loose format book. It takes you through like all different kinds of topics and kind of like ruminates on them. And it's just a very interesting read, not like a story arc or anything. It's just kind of like separate chapters and kind of like ruminations on those topics.
Yes.
So one of the things that I took out of it was this notion of collecting seeds.
Okay.
Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
So it's like when you go to create something, and I was kind of looking at it through trying to be a designer, you know, and trying to be better and trying to like find inspiration, and like it's hard to say where do the ideas come from. Like they're kind of like a culmination of like everything that you've seen and things that you like subconsciously. So one of his big things, like being an artist, and I think being a designer is like a little bit of being an artist, collecting seeds. So like taking inspiration consciously wherever you are and like really making a mental note of it or an actual note of it, and like kind of having this database, whether it's mental or physical database of things that kind of inspire you, you know, and you kind of like take all of those ideas and all those seeds kind of come together and they grow into something that's different from each one of those things, but it's kind of a culmination of it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, because you're kind of looking at me like, what are you talking about, dude?
No, I was thinking as you were talking.
Okay.
Because what I was going to say was like a similar point to that.
So now you have to think of a new point? You were like...
No, I'm still going to say what I was going to say, but I was going to try to work into it like a segue.
Right. It's like one of those things that you ride with the...
Yes.
I never rode one of those. Anyway, yeah, so I just thought that was really cool, and that's something I've done like a good bit of from time to time. Like if I'm traveling and I see something like at like a hotel or like, you know, you just like go different places and like you see something cool, you'll take a picture of it and just be like, that's really cool. There's been stuff like that, and it doesn't have to be something that you like literally look back on and like, okay, this was an idea I want to implement. It can be, but I think it's more of like you collect these ideas subconsciously and you turn them into your next creation.
Yes.
Like they all play a little bit of a part, but it's more like you just being aware of the cool things that are around you like all the time.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. I think we're not really aware of a lot of cool stuff that you'll see just everywhere if you kind of like pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's
cool.
Like you're constantly getting inspiration from everything in your life, and I think that's why people are like, especially in like building industries or like creative ways to do things, it's like,
yeah,
that person copied my idea or whatever, but you're really just collecting inspiration from everything that you see subconsciously, and you're constantly bombarded with information now.
Yeah.
Anyway, with like the internet and everything, so you're just collecting little seeds and you're putting it in your brain, and then you are doing your version of that thing, which he talks about in the book is like, even if you tried to replicate something, you're still going to do it in your way, so it's something different. So there's not, like it's good, not that you want to plagiarize or like steal somebody's idea, but like you're still going to do things in your way, so it's still kind of like a version of creativity because no matter what, you're still collecting these little seeds and making it your own.
Absolutely.
You're compiling all your little musings in your brain and making it something new.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that the way that you just put that, it also like, I don't know, it makes me think like, especially when I first started doing 3D renderings, like I would talk to other people and they'd be like, I never post any of my renderings because like I'm scared that like other builders will like see it, like copy my style, or a client is gonna like, you know, somebody's gonna try to build it, and I never really like understood that. Well, I understood it, but I never believed in that because it was kind of like, I'm going to put this out there. First of all, it's going to be good marketing for me, whether I sell this rendering or not and like get this job. Other people will see it and be like, whoa, that's a cool design. I can do like I'd love to hire this person.
Yeah.
But it also, like, it never mattered to me because it's like, I want to put all this stuff out there because if somebody wants to, like, try to copy what we're doing, like, first of all, great. That's awesome. I would love to see. That's, like, a huge compliment. And second of all, like, I don't want to be doing the same thing a year from now. So, like, if next year you're doing what we did this year, like, again, that's awesome. And hopefully we're not going to be doing the same thing anyway. Like, we're going to be progressing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of that quote I said earlier this week. Remember? I just remembered it.
What?
Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, not that it's like a win or lose thing, but I'm focused on, like, where we're going to go next, not who's behind us trying to, like, take our ideas. Like, I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
They're not my ideas. They're the universe's, as Rick would say.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I kind of liked his idea with, like, how creativity flows through you. It's not necessarily your ideas, like, from the universe just flowing through you you're just the conduit. And then he said, like, if you have this idea and you don't bring it to fruition, it's gonna, like, go to somebody else.
Like, the idea has to come out.
The idea has to come out. It's that idea's time to come out. Because I feel like that comes up a lot where people are like, with, like, building or different, like, everyone's inventing all these little different tools or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, I thought of that 3 years ago and now this person's making it. I feel like that comes up a lot. So I'm like, oh, that's true.
It definitely is true. So I thought that was really cool, collecting seeds. And I want to try to be more conscious of just, like, being inspired by different things. Like, you can go anywhere. Like, you go to a mall or, like, a commercial building or anything. Like, there's cool things everywhere that you could be like, wow, that's a cool architectural detail. I'm just going to, you know, mentally take note of that.
Yeah.
You know, just being more aware of the cool stuff that's everywhere around you.
Yeah.
That's something I'm going to take away and take with me.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Love that. Love that.
Another thing that I got. Did you have one that you wanted to jump into?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go.
Well, are you continuing with thought or you want me to?
I was going to jump into something new, but
Okay.
I brought up the last one, and then you were like, I was going to say something. So I don't want to steal your next one.
Okay, so
go ahead.
what I liked was when he was talking about how, like, creativity isn't rare. It's just a muscle that needs to be, like, worked.
Yeah.
Like, we all have this. So when we picked this book and I saw, you know, it's Rick Rubin. He's, like, very philosophical about creativity. I was thinking, okay, I personally paint. Well, sometimes, very rarely, but I paint.
You can paint.
I can paint occasionally when I do it.
I've seen your paintings. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice paintings. We'll
and,
pop
like-
one on the screen right here if you're watching this on YouTube.
So and you do the designs, but we still have, like, a very design-minded workspace. So in my mind, I was like, oh, that's where I'll find inspiration from this book. It's like art, physical art. But then in this book, he talks a lot about how creativity is not just, like, physical art. It's so many things. It's just, like, it can be problem solving. It's just really all encompassing, and it's how you choose to, like, focus your attention on it.
Yeah.
And he gives a bunch of different, like, exercises and examples of how to, like, create or, like, flex your creativity and make sure that it's, like, a mindful practice that you do. But when I thought about that, I was like, it does come down to even just problem solving. Like, whether you look at a problem with eyes that are like, well, this is the end of my day, I guess. I can't figure this out. Or if you're like, no, nothing is too hard to figure out. Like, there's a solution to everything. Like, that in itself is creative.
Yeah.
So it really is something that works its way into a lot of different things. And I feel like that when people talk to us at these trade shows or whatever, they're like, I'm a great builder, but I'm just not creative.
Yeah.
I feel like those are the people that could really benefit from a book like this, where it's like, everyone is creative. You just aren't, you're discounting your own abilities in this space just because, I don't know, you're not confident in yourself. There's a lot of stuff about that too, like confidence in yourself with creativity. But that's what my mind went to when I was like, we go to these trade shows and so many people are like, I can build anything. I know I'm confident in my building skills. I can create anything in, you know, my field. I'm confident in that, but I just can't design it. I don't know how to make things look good. I always have to hire out for a designer. Like,
Yeah.
But it's just like it's just a muscle you have to work. Anybody can do it. You know what I mean?
And like some people will say like just if they're not prone to like drawing or painting or doing designs or whatever, they'll be like, I'm not a creative person. But like the person I think of is like Ant. So Ant would probably be like, no, I'm not like a creative person. I don't know if he would say that, but like he's not like a painter or like whatever. But like you give him like nails and screws and stuff and he'll come up with like 10 creative ways to like solve a problem that like, oh, like, well, what if we just make this jig to do this? Like, that's super creative. So I don't want to say that Ant wouldn't call himself creative. Maybe he does. He does calligraphy.
He does do calligraphy.
Apparently. I've never seen it, but there's a lot of people like that, especially in the trades, that are like, if you look at just like really look at like every day, there's probably things you do all day long that are like just little hacks that you've had to be creative about to implement to make your day easier, your job better, or whatever it is. That's creativity. So I think this is a worthwhile read for anybody, even if you don't consider yourself creative in the classical sense of the word.
Right.
Yeah,
I like
something to think about. All right, so my next thing that I really liked from it was tying your shoes.
Tying your shoes.
Tying your shoes. And I've heard this story before, but I thought it was really cool. It's I forget what basketball coach it was, but it's like a very famous college basketball coach, and like the first thing that he teaches his students is how to properly tie your shoes.
Yeah, I remember this.
From the book or from before the book?
No, from the book.
Oh, okay. Which is like, for me, it reminded me of like all of the things that we were just talking about, like the small things, those really minor details. Are we doing those right? And that's like, if you're playing basketball, one of the simplest things is like how you tie your shoes. So he like literally teaches his students that like pull the socks all the way up, make sure there's no wrinkles, that it's totally smooth, work it up from like the toes to the heel up the ankle, and then tie your shoes, and don't just like untie the top, like loosen the whole thing and tie it up, cinch it one row at a time, and then double knot it so that there's not that off chance that it comes untied during a game and messes something up. And it's that point of, it's such a little tiny thing, but all great things are just a collection of really tiny things, and developing the habits to like make those incremental changes to make that big thing happen. And playing basketball, like one of the first elemental incremental things that you can do is tie your shoes right. Prevent blisters, prevent a twisted ankle from the shoe being too loose. Like, it seems so elementary that it's like, really, you're gonna tell me how to tie my shoes? But these are things that are in like all of our lives and our work that get overlooked like that. Like, that could be done a little bit better, and that's what drives you to like that big accomplishment later, is doing all those little things in the right way, and just having kind of a system for it, like having a way to do things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it.
I like that story. And even in the story, he was like, imagine being one of those basketball players, and your first day, you're all excited. First day, your coach is like...
You're one of the top recruits in the whole country.
Your coach is trying to teach you how to tie your shoes.
Yeah. You'd be like, really? Come on. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, I feel like we could talk about this for a very long time. This book has, I think it's like 78 chapters or something.
I think so. They're all very short.
It's very short, like little
Why,
nuggets.
are we running out of time on it? All right,
yeah,
well, I want to tell one more.
Okay.
I'll make this one quick.
Okay.
But I really liked, this one was my favorite point in the whole book.
Okay.
And it reminded me of the industry a lot, and it was on Brian Williams. I think that's Brian Wilson?
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. Listen to the Beatles album, I think it's called Rubber Souled, and thought it was like the best thing he had ever heard. Like, it was the greatest piece of music he had ever heard. And that led him to like immediately start writing God Only Knows?
The album Pet Sounds, but the song specifically God Only Knows is...
That's what he wrote right away, and that led to him creating Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
And then Paul McCartney said that he heard Pet Sounds and said that God Only Knows was like the most beautiful song ever created. And when they were writing Sgt. Pepper's, they listened to Pet Sounds nonstop on repeat. And it's like, that's such a cool thing where one thing, like, it's not competitive, it's collaborative. Like,
yes.
Your thing inspired me so much that it pushed me to create the best thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I feel like in our industry, that happens all the time. It's one of the best things about social media is seeing you put an idea out there, like an inlay or, just some really cool thing that you can create. Somebody else will look at that and say, you know what, I'm going to one-up you, or I'm going to put my spin on that. And then it just goes back and forth. And before you know it, like, everyone involved has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's something I've always loved about the industry. And to hear something about like the Beatles and the Beach Boys that's like literally kind of the same thing, super cool, I think.
Yeah. I also wrote down that point because I did love that story because it's such a healthy version of like competition. Like it's like the only version it's the only healthy version of competition because you're still only competing against yourself. You want to create the best thing that you can create while like holding yourself to someone else's standard. But it's not like they were like, I want to beat the Beach Boys. I want to take them down. They were like inspired by the beauty that they created and wanted to create something. It like challenged them to challenge themselves, which I thought was very
it's almost
mature,
done as like a
way.
tribute to them.
Yeah.
It's like your thing inspired me so much that I'm going to go and now I can create this because of what you created. And it's like, it's built upon, they've all kind of built upon each other, and like, they wouldn't have been able to create that without all the things before them that have built up to that point. So Beatles inspire Beach Boys, Beach Boys inspire Beatles. Balls in Beatles court?
Forever, I guess. I don't think that they're... As far as I know, they're not making any new music, so...
I don't know. Anyway.
So
what would you give the book? Let's rate the book out of 10.
So, I feel like I would... I wish that I had read this book like in a physical book, so I could have ruminated on each point more. I feel like with an audiobook, he kind of goes through these chapters really fast. I think he actually calls them meditations. Each chapter is like a meditation. So I do wish that I had read it on paper. I feel like I would have gotten more out of it. But that's not the fault of the book, so I can't fault them for that.
Yeah.
So I'll give the book a 7.2.
Okay.
What would you give?
I'm with you there. I do think it's more. It would be a better. It's not like a book that you want to just like plow through and like get done. It's something that you really want to like, maybe read a chapter every day and just like really think about that for the day, every morning or something. I think that would be a better way to consume it. Some of it felt like a little bit too much like woo-woo, like kind of out there, like stuff for me personally. But there was a lot that did resonate with me. But we're going to have a lot of books to review, so I don't want to set it too high. I'm going to say...
Gotta really temper it.
6.9.
Okay, all right. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, still some room to go up there, but yeah.
Yeah.
I thought overall it was good. Definitely would recommend. Easy read, easy listen.
Yeah.
So check it out. The Creative Act
By Rick Rubin.
by Rick Rubin.
Okay, so for our next book, I just looked it up. It is Read People Like a Book by Patrick King. And
So
if you want to...
we're not only going to read books, we're going to
We're going to learn how to read people.
read people. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So this will be, I haven't read it yet, so I can't speak uponst it. But, we thought it might be good for, like, sales and that kind of stuff. Perfectly right in our wheelhouse. So, Read People Like a Book, Patrick King, if you want to read along with us.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so now we are at our bad sales story of the week portion.
Bad sales story of the week, and I'm going to take this one. And this one is from our good friend Ren at Down to Earth Stone.
Ren does our countertops, so if you've seen any of our recent videos with countertop, that's Ren.
Yeah. So, okay. He gets a call, I guess, goes to a estimate. Goes to an estimate, shows up.
Yep.
What does he find there? Police activity.
Oh, Lord.
There's been a murder.
Oh, my God.
Someone was murdered at this potential job.
Oh, my gosh.
And I think that's kind of it. That's like kind of where it ended. I think the police kind of like maybe filled him in.
Let him in.
They did not. No. He's like, no, I need to measure for this countertop. So yeah, that was pretty open and shut case. Went to the estimate. Murder. So do a video walkthrough with groundwork
safe.
and keep yourself safe, because what if he was there? What if he showed up?
Oh, God, yeah.
When the murder was happening.
Ugh.
Or whatever. I don't know. Sheesh. So,
All right.
don't worry about that.
Do a video walkthrough. Don't worry about murders. And if you want to use our code, it is hardworking happy hour 50 for 50% off of your first 2 months for groundwork software.
Yeah. And I mean, like, worry about murder if there's something you can do about it. You said get the software and don't worry about murder. Still worry about it. Like,
No, don't worry about it.
Like, don't worry about it, like, on your appointments, but in general for, like, the world. If there's something that you can do about it to stop a murder, stop it.
Well, how far are you going to go? You're going to put yourself in harm's way?
I don't know. But don't just get this software and completely absolve yourself of
Worrying about
what
murder.
it means to be a human. And we're in this together. But you'll be safer because you won't be going on to those murderous estimates. So anyway, closing thoughts.
Yes.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
I feel like this is really your wheelhouse, this creative
You think so?
woo-woo book.
Okay.
And when we were talking about it, you were like, midweek, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm vibing with this book. You were like, well, no offense, but it's meant for more like creative people. So
That was just a joke.
I'll let you take it from here.
That was just kind of like ribbing.
I know, I'm kidding. But go ahead. I feel like you have something to say.
Not really. I think, man, we really did cross some chasms this week. You know, we went from a total mental freak out to, you know, reading this philosophical book about how to be creative. And it all leads back to that elemental question of, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the thing that we were meant to do?
Oh.
Are we doing the things right now that are going to take us to the places we want to go? I think that is part of our deep human nature, to be worried that we're not going to end up where we want to go, and that the decisions we make right now aren't going to lead us to the right place later. So you have to be creative, think creatively, break everything down, really get to the core of what you're doing, why you're doing it, where it's going to take you, and how it's going to feel when you finally get there.
That's beautiful.
Just kind of...
Was that one of those moments where you black out? And
Totally. Yeah. You could tell. But I think it
came together nicely.
Oh my God, that was the universe. I was just being a conduit for the universe right there.
That was beautiful.
Wow.
Way to really wrap it up nicely. That was perfect, Sean. Great job.
Thank you so much. Make sure you hey, we're putting a lot more effort into these as video content on YouTube. So check us out on YouTube. It's a fun way to consume this content and see our faces.
Yeah,
we do a lot of visual stuff the whole time. If you're only watching this or listening to this on audio, you're missing out on 95% of what's happening. So check it out on YouTube. And if you are going to continue listening on audio, hit that follow button.
Yeah.
Leave us a review, all that good stuff, because we put a lot of work into this.
Yes. Yep. So thank you for listening, and
And we love you all.
okay.
See you next week.
No, that's my part.
Oh, until next time, it's been the Hardworking Happy Hour.
See you next week.